Hey everybody, my name is Don Weber, and this is just a quick code walkthrough of my Maze Runner Unity game. So just kind of a quick breakdown. Here in this game, you're this slime, and you're trying to navigate this maze, and you're not allowed to touch any of the walls. And every time you do touch the wall, you die, and then you get reset into this spot, and so you have to beat it in one go and get all the way down here. So that's kind of the breakdown. I'll hurry and run it here and kind of show you it in action. Okay, there we go. So you just use the spacebar to fly. Oh. Okay, there we go. And then you're just using the arrow keys to pick the direction. And so that first time while it was kind of lagging, I died. So you can see that death counter in the top right corner. There you go again. And honestly, it's pretty hard. But once you get to the finish line, then it's just gonna display your deaths and then how long it took you to do it. So as far as the code goes, it's honestly pretty basic, nothing too intense. We have the slime element here, the sprite renderer, that just is how I attach the picture to it, and then the rigid body makes it so that he doesn't go through things, and you can also kind of affect the gravity and the drag and the mass, and that's just kind of the physics of it all. And then this collider sees when it collides with any other object. And then here's the slime script with the variables that I made, which I'll show you here in a little bit. That's actually in Visual Studio, but that's just the code and kind of the logic handler. And then here is just our safe spot, our little box. And so this is really the only safe spot of the entire game. And then all of these boundaries are just making the maze. Honestly, there's probably an easier way to do this, but this is my first time doing a Unity project, so it's a pretty big learning curve. And then I'm just going to move this over. Then the logic manager just kind of handles, again, the script, just tracking the amount of deaths, the game over screen, everything like that. The finish line is right here at the end. Once they pass that, that's when the game over screen is shown. And then this is the game over screen. Oh. So this is what you see all the time. But then we'll make this active just so that you can see what it looks like when you finish. So here's the time and the amount of deaths, and then an option to play again. So I'll check that. So moving over to the code, really nothing too intense. All of these, well, these two things are getting things from the Unity program. And so this is how I'm able to manipulate the slime here, is by getting this. And then also manipulating that logic. So so this is, as soon as the program starts, this code runs. And so this is getting the logic manager. So again, you just do everything that you need to. But then this update goes every frame. So there's this move and this jump always going. And so the move is keeping track of the left and the right. And so this input.getAxis returns like a -1 to 1. And so if I'm pointing to the left, that's a -1. And if I'm pointing to the right, then it's a +1. And so it's just getting kind of what direction you're trying to move. And then here this movement is turned into a vector, so that you're able to have some horizontal movement. And then here it the my rigid body dot velocity is making the slime move in a direction, so it's taking the x direction while leaving the same y velocity that it has already, the y height. Just as quick side note, that's really a tiny amount, and so you multiply it by a velocity multiplier just so that it moves a little bit more. And then pretty similar to jump, it's just as soon as the jump button, which is the space, and the program's still running, the height that I already set changes. And then here is checking for any collision with the maze. So I gave a tag to every one of these boundaries. Sorry. And so here, layer maze. So it's checking for a collision with anything on the maze layer. And then I'll show you this in a second, but then you die and then you get reset. And then stop running just changes running to false so that you're not able to move after you die. So here is the logic manager that I've been talking about a lot. So we got the game over screen, which is from Unity that I showed you, that shows the time and the deaths. Here's the slime, and then here is the 3 texts. So the number of deaths that you always see in the top left corner, and then the end number of deaths and the end time that's shown on the game end screen. And this updates the time every frame, and then the delta time makes it so that frames per second doesn't matter, because if you don't have that, then the timing could be different based on how much FPS you have. And then here's the dead function. So it ups the death counter by 1, and then it changes the slime's position to the beginning, and then it updates that the death counter in the top left of the screen. And then once you cross the finish line, this function's called. It shows the game over screen, it stops running, and then shows everything that I've already talked about. And then restart game is the button, and once you hit that, it just restarts so that you can play again. And then just the last thing is the finish line. So as soon as this slime connects with it, which is layer 6, then it calls the UN function, which I already explained.